Part 157. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 1561. Su Tianqian looked at Tishan Wushang's curious expression, sighed slightly, and said, "Since you want to know, then I will tell you." Later, Su Tianqian told Tishan Wushang everything about the process of getting to know each other, and falling in love with me. When Tishan Wushang heard that I actually fought against the gods for Su Tianqian in Penglai Xiandao, she covered her mouth and said, "Wow, wow, I'm so touched." She looked back at me and said, "No wonder Master Tianqian likes you. Although you don't look like a good person, you are really good to Master Tianqian." The corners of my eyes twitched slightly. "What do you mean I don't look good? Please, can I be handsome?" Tishan Wushang suddenly thought of something and whispered a few words in Su Tianxuan's ear. Su Tianxuan's pretty face immediately turned red, and her beautiful eyes were full of panic. "This kind of thing, how can I tell you? You will know it in the future." I'm a little curious, what did Tishan Wushang say to Su Tianqian, and why did she make Su Tianqian so shy? All right. I gave Su Tianqian a look, and Su Tianqian understood. She took Tishan Wushang's hand and said, "Wushang, can you tell me your horoscope?" Tishan Wushang was slightly startled and asked, "Beza?" Su Tianqian nodded and replied, "Actually, the last time we met, I wanted your horoscope to help you do calculations and divination, but at that time you were weak and unconscious, so I had no choice but to give up." Tishan Wushang told Su Tianqian her horoscope, and then said, "Master Tianqian, I know you are very capable, but my destiny is special. Master Tianqian, if you force divination, you will suffer backlash." Su Tianqian shook his head at Tishan Wushang and said, "It's okay, let me give it a try." I quickly stopped him and said, "It's up to me to handle this matter." Just as Tishan Wushang said, she has a special destiny, and forced divination will cause backlash. I can't just watch Su Tianqian get hurt. Su Tianqian shook his head and refused. I was resolute, but Su Tianqian could only nod in agreement. I stretched out my hand and started calculating. Tishan Wushang's numerology was shrouded in a mist. If I wanted to get a glimpse of it, I had to use all my strength. I took a deep breath and concentrated on my calculations. Gradually, dense beads of sweat appeared on my forehead. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded in my ears. "Who dares to spy on my fate, Empress Tishan?" My vision went dark, and my consciousness suddenly entered a dark space. How is this going? Just when I was wondering, a dozen figures suddenly appeared in front of me. I looked carefully and saw that the figures in front of me were all fox demons. These fox demons are wearing phoenix robes, they are enchanting and stunning in appearance, their brows are full of cold emotion, and they have 9 snow-white fox tails on their backs. Is this, the empresses of Tishan? More than a dozen fox demons all focused their attention on me, and a strong sense of oppression spread over me. "Who are you? How dare you spy on my fate, Empress Tishan? Do you want to die?" The dozen fox demons in front of me should be the empresses of Tishan. They should no longer be alive, but they still protect Tishan Wushang. This surprised me. Isn't this Tishan Wushang the empress of Tishan? Why did all the empresses of the past protect her? Is this true for every generation of empress? Or is it that Tishan Wushang is different from the previous empresses? Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 1562. I looked at the Tishan empresses in front of me and replied, "My name is Lu Su." Lu Su. The Tishan empresses of all generations looked at each other with doubts in their eyes. One of the empresses said, "It turns out that he is just an unknown person. If that's the case, then we can't be blamed. The Tishan empresses of all generations have entered my consciousness. If I were killed by them here, I would become a vegetative state." My face darkened, and I said coldly, Unknown person? You fox demons dare to bark in front of me at night, you are really arrogant. I circulated the dragon energy in my body, and an extremely vast breath burst out from my body. After feeling this aura, the Titian empresses of the past dynasties immediately froze on the spot, and they looked at me in disbelief. This is the ambition of an emperor. Are you, the emperor of the world? I looked at them coldly and replied, I don't know if I am an emperor on earth, but people in the Feng Shui world respectfully call me Tao Emperor, and the gods call me Emperor Zaiwei. This is considered a little bit of pretense on my part. After all, I have never used all my titles. Although the dozen or so in front of me are the Empress Titian, they are still remnant souls, and they are just fox monsters. They pose no threat to me at all. Titian empresses in the past generations looked at me, and I looked at you, and then they all bowed to me and said, Emperor, please calm down. It's because we are too blind to recognize Mount Tai. I hope you can forgive me. I have to say that the identity of Emperor Zaiwei is really useful. Moreover, I am not cheating, they are Empress Titian, and whether I am Emperor Zaiwei or not can be judged by the aura on my body. I waved my hand and said, the reason why I want to spy on Titian Wushang's luck is for her own good. You also know her situation. The baptism when she ascended the throne has not been completed yet. There will definitely be a catastrophe in the future. It must be done, make countermeasures in advance. One of the Titian empresses said, Emperor, you are right that Wushang's situation is indeed very special. She needs to go through 9 heavenly tribulations before she can achieve enlightenment, but who can withstand 9 heavenly thunders? 9 heavenly tribulations, what is the origin of Titian Wushang? It is very rare for ordinary monsters to experience it 3 times, but she has to go through it 9 times. The Titian Empress continued, also, Wushang has a bad fate with the same man for 3 lives. If that man doesn't die, Wushang will definitely die. The man mentioned by Empress Titian should be Qin Fenglin's unborn grandson. I said, no, that man is not Titian Wushang's disaster, but the only one who can help her survive the disaster. If she wants Titian Wushang to survive the disaster successfully, she must marry that man. Several Titian empresses looked at me in confusion and asked, why are you so sure, Emperor? I replied, of course I figured it out. I'm not talking nonsense. Qin Fenglin's unborn grandson and Titian Wushang were a perfect match. Although the process of being together will be difficult, as long as you get married in the end, all problems will be solved. Of course, there are too many variables in this world, and I am not sure whether this can help Titian Wushang and Qin Fenglin's grandson. However, a glimmer of hope is better than nothing. The Titian empresses were startled for a moment, and then they said to me, Great Emperor, but you have to know, Titian empresses of all ages have to cut off their love and love. If they don't stop their love and love, they will suffer backlash and they will not survive. How long? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1563. 9 times out of 10 things in life are unsatisfactory. Nothing can be perfect if you don't strive for it. How will you know it's not going to work? I looked at the Titian empresses of all generations and said, if I want Titian Wushang to be safe and sound, and if I want Titian to be worry-free, the only way is to get married. The empresses of Titian in the past were silent, and I continued, let me tell you the truth. I came to Titian this time to do a very important thing, and that is to find a marriage for your current empress. And this person is the man you say has been in love with Titian Wushang for 3 generations. One of the Titian empresses looked at me and said, Emperor, for your kindness, I thank you on Wushang's behalf, but, we have grown up watching Wushang, and we know her temperament. If you give her she will not agree to a marriage. This sentence is very correct. In what age are we still doing arranged marriages? However, the engagement is good for both Titian Wushang and Qin Fenglin's grandson. At this time, another Titian empress said, by the way, isn't Wushang's essence still in our hands? We can give her essence to the emperor, and then use the essence as a guide to arrange a marriage. It's time for Wushang to refuse to recognize her. Well, this is a good idea. There are 9 heavenly tribulations in Wushang's life, and each tribulation is fatal. If a catastrophe occurs and Wushang cannot cope with it, we can't do anything. We can only seek help from others. The Titian empresses started discussing with you and me. After a while, they decided to hand over Titian Wushang's essence to me and then sign the marriage contract. However, this method is a bit forceful, so I have to ask Titian Wushang for her opinion. I told all the Titian empresses what I was thinking, and more than a dozen empresses listened and then nodded towards me. Then, I took a deep breath and escaped from the sea of consciousness. I opened my eyes, and Su Tianqian quickly asked with concern, Xiao Su, how are you? I smiled at Su Tianqian and replied, I'm fine. I looked at Titian Wushang. She looked at me curiously and asked, what did you calculate? I told her that she would experience 9 heavenly tribulations, and that if she wanted to break through the tribulations, she could only get engaged to a human being. As soon as these words came out, Titian Wushang's pretty face turned cold. She suddenly stood up and said to me, Lu, you actually want me to marry a human? What is my identity? How can I marry a mortal? I sighed slightly and said, this is also a good thing for you. Even if you don't agree, you and that person will meet in the future. Because you and him have a 3-life love relationship, and you will meet again after going around. Humph, Titian Wushang snorted, I don't believe these things. I won't order it. I just won't order it. Seeing Titian Wushang being so determined, I sighed secretly in my heart. Seeing this, Su Tianqian pulled Titian Wushang aside and started whispering. The 2 women didn't know what they said. After a while, Titian Wushang reluctantly sat back. She agreed. Su Tianqian said to me. I looked at Su Tianqian with some surprise. What did she say to Titian Wushang to make her agree? However, now is not the time to ask about this, because there are bigger things to talk to Titian Wushang after this matter. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1564. Now that Titian Wushang has agreed, the next thing to do is to draw up a marriage contract. Because Qin Fenglin's grandson has not been born yet, I can only write Titian Wushang's birthday. I asked Titian Wushang to find black paper, a brush, and cinnabar. Marriage letters between humans should be written on red paper and black pen, but between humans and monsters, only black paper and red pen can be used. I was just about to start writing when Su Tianqian asked from the side, Xiao Su, can you write calligraphy? As soon as I said this, I looked embarrassed and replied, no. Su Tianqian pursed her lips and smiled and said to me, if you don't know how, I will write it. With that said, Su Tianqian took the brush from my hand and started writing the marriage letter. Su Tianxian's calligraphy is very beautiful, vigorous, powerful, and elegant. This instantly reminded me of the scene when Su Tianqian taught me how to draw ghost money. That time was also the first time Su Tianqian and I had close contact. Looking back now, I still feel a little sweet in my heart. Soon, Su Tianqian saw that the marriage book was written. Wan's Hang, write your name on it. Titian Wushang picked up the brush and wrote her name on it without any hesitation. This surprised me to the extreme. How could this fox be so happy? Titian Wushang felt my gaze and she hummed softly. Snort. I tell you, I don't want to marry that man, but because I want to take the opportunity to go down the mountain and have a look. The corner of my mouth twitched slightly, just because I went down the mountain, I agreed to get married. The majestic Empress Titian is so childish. Kill that man when I come down from the mountain. No one in this world who can be my husband has been born yet. Tushin Wushang raised her pink fist and waved it in the air, then showed an indignant expression. I glanced at Su Tianqian with worried eyes. I'm really afraid that Tushin Wushang will kill Qin Fenglin's grandson. Marriage is voluntary, and I can't use the marriage contract to forcibly bind Tushin Wushang and Qin Fenglin's grandson together, right? However, the Tushin empresses of all generations have given me the essence of Tushin Wushang. When the time comes, I will give the essence to Qin Fenglin. Let Qin Fenglin decide whether to use the marriage contract or not. Anyway, I can help, that's all he has. I put the marriage certificate away, and then my expression became serious. I looked at Tushin Wushang and said, tomorrow is your father's birthday. You, the eldest Prince Tushin, want to seek power and usurp the throne with the 72 wild immortals. This matter, do you know what happened? Tushin Wushang was slightly startled when she heard these words, then shook her head and said, although I am Empress Tushin, everything is controlled by my father. I have rarely had contact with my brothers and sisters since I was a child, except for my sister. I nodded and asked, what are you going to do about this? Tushin Wushang's eyes suddenly became firm, and she was domineering, like an empress dominating the world. She said coldly, I, Tushin Wushang, am the king of Tushin. Only I am here. Only then can we protect Tushin, no one else can. I glanced at Su Tianqian. Su Tianqian sighed slightly and said, Wushang, let me tell you the truth, we are here to ask you Tushin for Sudaji's 3 tails. Sudaji's 3 tails. Tushin Wushang looked at Su Tianqian with some surprise, and then said, those 3 tails are in the hands of my father. If you want them, you can only discuss them with my father. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1565. As she spoke, Tushin Wushang's voice stopped and she said, however, my father has been in seclusion recently. Tomorrow is his birthday, but he still hasn't shown up. Hearing this sentence, a bad premonition suddenly arose in my heart. I asked, then have you ever asked your father to meet you? Tushin Wushang nodded and replied, I have been there, but I was stopped by the emperor every time. Tushin Wushang was stunned immediately, as if she thought of something, her face turned ugly. She glanced at it but said nothing. I answered, don't you want to say that something happened to your father? Tushin Wushang nodded. The demon emperor Tushin cannot come out of seclusion, and Tushin Wushang, the daughter, can't even see her father when she goes to seek an audience, and is even stopped by the eldest prince. There are various signs that there must be something fishy about the demon emperor's seclusion. Tushin Wushang stood up, with a worried look on her face, and said, no, I have to go see my father. I quickly stopped him and said, wait a minute, even if you go now, you won't be able to see your father, and you might even alert him. Tushin Wushang looked at me and asked, then what should I do now? I pondered for a moment and said, let's go in secretly. Tushin Wushang immediately shook her head and denied after hearing my idea, no, you can't get in. My father's palace is heavily guarded, so you can't sneak in. I smiled at Tushin Wushang and said, just because others can't get in, doesn't mean I can't get in. I have the 9 eyes heaven realm. Any walls or barriers in this world are useless to me. I can completely use the power of the 9 eyes heaven realm to sneak into the palace of Tushin Demon Emperor. However, there is a problem now, that is, we don't know the specific location of Tushin Demon Emperor's palace, so we can only let Tushin Wushang take us there. Tushin Wushang looked at me suspiciously and said, don't brag, be careful of thunder. Bragging? Lu Su, never brag. Su Tianqian spoke for me from the side. Wan's Hang, just believe him, he can do it. When Tushin Wushang saw Su Tianqian speaking, she didn't say anything to me. She just stood up and said to me, okay, I'll take you there now. As soon as he finished speaking, Tu Shan Yungxiao's voice sounded outside. Your Majesty, it's getting late, it's time to rest. Tushan Wushang's face changed slightly, and she said casually, I understand. Then, she lowered her voice and said to me and Su Tianxian, I'm afraid I can't take you there because my whereabouts must be reported to Tushan Yungxiao. Besides, there are people watching me all the time. I frowned. How could Tushan Wushang be the empress? It is clearly a canary trapped in a high wall. It has no freedom at all. Even when traveling, someone must watch it. No wonder Tushan Wushang wanted to go down the mountain even though she agreed to the marriage. Through a brief exchange with Tushan Wushang, I finally understood Tushan Wushang's character. Because of her status as Empress Tushan, she had to pretend to be noble and cool, but in fact, she was simple-minded, playful and cute, and yearned for the outside world. Moreover, she was a bit dull. To put it simply, she was not deeply involved in the world. I said to Tushan Wushang, don't worry about this. We will take you out later. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1566. Tushan Wushang nodded without saying anything. At this time Tushan Yungxiao walked in, and he said to me and Su Tianxian, you two, it's getting late, I'll take you to rest. Later, Su Tianxian and I followed Tushan Yungxiao and left. Tushan Yungxiao took us to a house, and then said to me, you two, have a good rest. Don't run around at night. It will be bad if something happens. Okay, we get it. Tushan Yungxiao retreated, and Su Tianxian and I returned to the room. The architectural style of this courtyard is antique, and living here is like traveling to ancient times across 1,000 years. Tianxian, do you think something has happened to the Tushan Demon Emperor? Yes, Su Tianxian nodded and replied, the Tushan Demon Emperor is most likely controlled by the eldest prince. I pondered for a moment and said, let's sneak out later, pick up Tushan Wushang, and then go to the Demon Emperor's palace to see what's going on. Su Tianxian hummed softly, then sighed slightly and said, for some reason, I have a feeling that our actions tonight will not go smoothly. I smiled, gently took Su Tianxian into my arms and comforted me, don't worry, we will overcome all difficulties. Su Tianxian snuggled into my arms and nodded. Time passed minute by minute, and soon, 2 hours passed. Su Tianxian and I quietly came to the door and looked outside through the crack in the door. There were 2 fox demons in armor standing at the gate of the courtyard. It was obvious that Tushan Yungxiao had sent people to watch us. I asked Su Tianxian in a low voice, were you under surveillance when you came to Tushan last time? Su Tianxian shook his head and replied softly, no. There was no one there last time, but this time there was someone watching. There were various signs that Tushan was not as quiet and peaceful as it seemed on the surface, and there must be an undercurrent surging secretly. It's not difficult for me to deal with 2 fox monsters. I used 9 Eyes Heaven Realm and disappeared directly. When I reappeared, I was already behind the 2 fox demons. They were unaware of my presence. I knocked the 2 fox monsters unconscious, then dragged them into the house and tied them up. I don't need to kill these 2 fox demons, because this will make my relationship with Tushan very bad. The most important thing is that these 2 fox demons didn't do anything to me and Su Tianxian. Su Tianxian and I rushed towards Tushan Wushang's palace. Tushan is very big and has many places. Although Su Tianxian and I don't know the specific location of the Demon Emperor's palace. But I clearly remember the location of Tushan Wushang's palace. Soon, Su Tianxian and I arrived outside Tushan Wushang's bedroom. I used 9 Eyes Heaven Realm and took Su Tianxian directly to disappear. Appearing again, we have arrived at Tushan Wushang's boudoir. I looked around and saw Tishan Wushang lying on the bed sleeping soundly. The corners of my mouth twitched slightly. Why is this fox so heartless? Didn't we just agree to come find her? Su Tianqian stepped forward and patted Tishan Wushang gently. Huh? Tishan Wushang opened her eyes in a daze and asked, "Who is it? Don't you know that disturbing my sleep is a capital offense?" "It's me." Su Tianqian lowered his voice and said. Tishan Wushang was startled for a moment, then woke up instantly. She looked at me and Su Tianqian in surprise and asked, "Master Tianqian, how did you two appear here?" Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1567. I smiled and said, "You'll find out about this later. I'll take you out of here first." Tishan Wushang nodded. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and planned to use Nine Eyes' heavenly domain, when a cold voice came from outside the door. "Your Majesty, I advise you not to leave. If you leave, I will have no way to explain to the Demon Emperor." When I heard this voice, I immediately frowned. The owner of the voice was Tishan Yungxiao. How did he know that Su Tianqian and I had sneaked into Tishan Wushang's boudoir? Or maybe Tishan Yungxiao has been observing me secretly. Tishan Wushang was startled for a moment, then her pretty face turned cold. She slowly opened the door to the boudoir, and Su Tianqian and I followed behind her. When I opened the door, I saw Tishan Yungxiao standing in the courtyard with a cold expression. "Tishan Yungxiao. How brave you are! You dare to order me to do things." Tishan Wushang's face was as cold as frost, and her voice was extremely cold. "I dare not." Tishan Yungxiao knelt down on one knee and said respectfully to Tishan Wushang, "This subordinate is only protecting His Majesty's safety." Tishan Wushang clenched her pink fists tightly, and her whole body exuded a terrifying sense of oppression. This sense of oppression even made me feel palpitated. "Since you don't dare, then step aside for me." Tishan Yungxiao remained unmoved. His expression was calm and his tone of voice was as calm as water. "Your Majesty, your duty is to protect your safety. If your Majesty insists on leaving, Yun Xiao will have no choice but to be rude to your friend." Tishan Wushang's eyes became colder and colder. She walked towards Tishan Yungxiao step by step. As she walked, she said, "Tishan Yungxiao, you and I have grown up together since childhood. It was okay at first, but I am right to you. I don't hate you, I even consider you a friend." After hearing this, Tishan Yungxiao said with sincerity and fear, "How dare a pariah like Yungxiao be friends with His Majesty?" Tishan Wushang came to Tishan Yungxiao, looked at him condescendingly and coldly, and said to herself, "But in the past few hundred years, you have disgusted me. Tell me, are you the king or me in Tishan?" 1. Tishan Yungxiao lowered his head and whispered to Tishan Wushang, "You are." "Since I am, then get out of my way." If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have imagined that Tishan Wushang, who is kind, simple, playful and cute, could be so domineering. Tishan Yungxiao raised his head, his eyes were extremely firm, he was still stubborn and said, "I have been ordered by the Demon Emperor to stay with His Majesty at all times. I will not let your Majesty leave without the Demon Emperor's permission." Tishan Wushang was so angry that she gritted her teeth and looked at Tishan Yungxiao. I couldn't stand watching anymore, so I took a step forward and said, "You and Tianqian leave first, and I'll deal with him. If nice words don't make sense, then take action." Tishan Wushang was startled, looked at me, and said, "You are no match for him." I chuckled lightly and said, "You don't know my strength, so just say that I am no match for him." "Your Majesty, you are looking down on me too much, right?" Snort. Tishan Wushang snorted lightly but said nothing. I looked at Tishan Yungxiao, slowly stretched out my hand, and held it in the air. Jingxiao appeared out of thin air and was held in my hand. I pointed my sword at Tishan and Yungxiao said coldly, "We have some things to complete." This matter is related to your comfort, Titian. It will be good for you and me to let us leave and avoid fighting. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1568. Titian Yungxiao stood up slowly and took out his long sword from his waist, and said to me, I will not let His Majesty leave. This is my duty. I didn't even want to talk about it, and I didn't want to talk nonsense with Titian Yungxiao. I raised my sword and rushed towards Titian Yungxiao. I was extremely fast and arrived in front of Titian Yungxiao in the blink of an eye. I raised the Jingxiao in my hand and slashed hard at Titian Yungxiao. Just when Jingxiao was about to touch Titian Yungxiao moved, and he suddenly held the long sword in front of him. Jingxiao and the long sword clashed with each other, making a clanging sound. At this time, I suddenly felt a strong repulsive force coming, and I was forced to retreat continuously. Titian Yungxiao also stepped back a few steps in the same way. I looked at Titian Yungxiao, and I saw that this fox demon was indeed not simple. Titian Yungxiao's eyes were also full of solemnity when he looked at me. I said to Su Tianqian and Titian Wushang, you go first, I will go down and look for you later. Su Tianqian nodded and said to me, be careful. Good. Titian Wushang took Su Tianxuan's hand and asked, Master Tianqian, do you really want him to stay here alone? It's not like you don't know Titian Yungxiao's strength. Before Titian Wushang could finish her words, she was interrupted by Su Tianqian. She looked at me and said softly, I believe her. I don't know since when, Su Tianqian started to trust me more and more, and it makes me very happy to gain her trust. Su Tianqian trusts me, which means that I have the ability to take charge of myself. After Titian Wushang heard what Su Tianqian said, she pulled Su Tianqian away without saying anything. Titian Yungxiao didn't chase me, he just stood in front of me. I looked at Titian Yungxiao and seemed to understand something. I originally thought you were a dull person, but now it seems you are not. You kept me here on purpose, right? Titian Yungxiao asked, why do you say that? I replied, actually, you have noticed something unusual about Titian a long time ago. You left me here just to test my skills and see if I have the ability to solve the internal affairs of Titian. Titian Yungxiao was stunned for a moment, then nodded and replied, yes, I have known what happened inside Titian for a long time, but I alone cannot solve it. Your appearance gave me some hope. However, hope is hope after all, and it may be shattered, so I want to see what your strength is. Titian Yungxiao is actually a truly caring person. The eldest Prince Titian united with the 72 wild immortals to usurp the throne. Although he knew about this, he was still a subject of Titian. No matter how strong his personal strength was, he could not fight against the entire Titian. I estimate that Titian Yungxiao knew my purpose as early as when I arrived. In that case, let's stop talking nonsense. I raised my sword again and struck at Titian Yungxiao. Titian Yungxiao's expression turned cold and he raised his sword to deal with it. After a few rounds, I found that Titian Yungxiao was indeed very strong. His swordsmanship alone was on par with mine. You must know that I am not the Lu Su I was before. The Jingxiao and the long sword collided. Titian Yungxiao and I took the opportunity to pull away. I pinched the thunder Jew with one hand. Light blue thunder and lightning surrounded me. Titian Yungxiao saw this and no longer hesitated, his expression condensed. The aura was at full strength, and the demonic energy as vast as the sea attacked me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1569. When I felt the demonic aura in Titian Yungxiao, I was extremely horrified. Let's put it this way, I have met many demons, but there has never been one as powerful as Titian Yungxiao. Even Lu Hangxuan, who has transformed into a dragon, is probably not a match for Tishan Yungxiao. Seeing how powerful Tishan Yungxiao was, I untied the seals of the 3 spiritual veins without any hesitation. There are a total of 12 spiritual vein seals in my body. I can perfectly control the first 5 channels, so there is no need to seal them all the time, but the dragon energy of the 6th channel is very rich and powerful. However, I can still control it if I forcefully unlock it. But the 7th path is different. As long as I unlock it, I will definitely suffer backlash. The dragon energy in these 12 spiritual veins is my trump card, and it is also the key to my fight against the gods. If I can control all the dragon energy in the 12 spiritual veins, then killing the gods will have no impact on me. Difficulty. After all, these dragon auras can be said to be where the dragon veins of China lie. Tishan Yungxiao felt the change in my aura, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. I used the 9 eyes heaven realm and said to Tishan Yungxiao, in this space, you and I can teach as much as we want, and no one will notice it. Tishan Yungxiao didn't speak, and looked at me with solemn eyes. He took a deep breath and disappeared in a flash. I was shocked. Tishan Yungxiao's speed was almost as fast as the speed I moved in the 9 eyes heaven realm. In the blink of an eye, Tishan Yungxiao was already in front of me. He raised his long sword and stabbed me hard in the chest. He was ruthless and showed no mercy at all. My expression turned cold and I disappeared instantly. Tishan Yungxiao jumped into the air. I appeared behind Tishan Yungxiao and raised the Jingxiao in my hand to slash towards Tishan Yungxiao. I dare say that few people can dodge my sword, but Tishan Yungxiao not only dodged it, but also launched an attack on me. I retreated continuously, releasing the dragon energy in my body. 3 dragon energy surrounded me and condensed into 3 golden dragons. Tishan Yungxiao was slightly startled when he saw these 3 golden dragons, and then said, I didn't expect that you actually contain the spirit of a true dragon in your body. It seems that you are not a mortal. I looked at Tishan Yungxiao and said with a smile, there are many things you can't think of. As soon as I finished speaking, I raised my Jingxiao in my hand and pointed it at Tishan Yungxiao. The next moment, 3 golden dragons roared towards Tishan Yungxiao. Tishan Yungxiao's face was calm, without any panic. He waved his hand casually, and 3 giant snow-white tails appeared behind him. These 3 giant tails were like long whips whipping towards the 3 golden dragons. When the 3 golden dragons touched Tishan Yungxiao's 3 fox tails, they were instantly shaken away by the powerful demonic energy on Tishan Yungxiao's body. Interestingly, this Tishan Yungxiao is still strong. No wonder he could become the general who protects the country in Tishan. I looked at Tishan Yungxiao and asked, I'm very curious. How can you be so powerful with only 1,000 years of cultivation? I heard that the Fox Demon clan attaches great importance to feelings, and sometimes they become stronger because of feelings. Increase. Before I finished speaking, Tishan Yungxiao's originally calm expression suddenly changed. He looked at me coldly and yelled at me, just hit me, don't talk so much nonsense. It seems that my words just touched Tishan Yungxiao's heart. Something must have happened to Tishan Yungxiao to make him become like this. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1570. I didn't say anything more, and quickly finished my discussion with Tishan Yungxiao and then went to find Su Tianqian and Tishan Wushang. Tishan Yungxiao took a deep breath, and with a flash of body, he rushed towards me. The 3 tails behind him were waving wildly, looking extremely domineering. I sighed slightly when I saw his 3 tails. It seemed that I was underestimated by him. The tail of the fox demon represents his cultivation level, and now that Tishan Yungxiao only has 3 tails, it proves that he has only used 30% to 40% of his strength. I no longer hesitated and directly used all my strength. I suddenly took a step forward, and then a magic circle spread out under my feet and spread around at an extremely fast speed. Tushin Yungxiao was enveloped by the magic circle. My expression hardened, and I shouted loudly, and then, the magic circle emitted a dazzling golden light. Obscure golden spells appeared in the 5 directions of the array: east, west, south, and north. The magic spells come together to form the 5 characters of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. These 5 characters are not modern writing but ancient writing. The array I am currently using is called the 5 Elements Subduing Demon Array. 5 Elements Conquering Demons uses the power of the 5 elements to subdue demons and slay demons. It is a magic circle specifically targeted at monsters. Since my sealed memories gradually awakened, I have mastered many formations, spells, and secret techniques, many of which are superior formations. This 5 elements demon subduing formation is the superior formation. Tushin Yungxiao was trapped in the magic circle and stood there for a moment. He looked around with a cold look, looking for a way to break the formation. I wouldn't give him this chance. I picked up the magic formula and activated the formation directly. This formation was performed by me after unlocking the seals of the 5 spiritual veins, and its power is very powerful. The 5 characters of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth emit dazzling golden light. The wooden characters turned into countless vines and attacked Tushin Yungxiao. Tushin Yungxiao had a strong figure and swung his sword quickly. He cut off countless vines in the light of the sword and the shadow of the sword. I continued to activate the magic circle, and then, the water character emitted a dazzling blue light, and a torrent of water rushed towards Tushin Yungxiao with a devastating force. Tushin Yungxiao's face condensed, and he turned around suddenly. The 3 tails behind him emitted powerful demonic energy and hit the water. A surprising scene happened. Tushin Yungxiao used his own evil spirit to disperse the flood. However, these are just appetizers, the real killer move is yet to come. The golden words emitted a dazzling golden light. The golden light rose into the sky, and then fell straight down, pressing down on Tushin Yungxiao like a big mountain. Tushin Yungxiao's expression condensed and his legs were slightly bent. He glanced at me, and a flood of evil energy erupted from his body again. The demonic energy poured out, and 2 more tails grew out of Tushin Yungxiao's back. He broke free from the shackles of the gold element as soon as the 2 tails appeared. He looked around, and finally set his sights on an eye of the magic circle. He rushed toward that eye without any hesitation. I was shocked. Not only was Tushin Yungxiao very powerful, he was also proficient in formations. It only took him a while to find the way to break the formation. I released the dragon energy in my body, and the dragon energy condensed into shape. More than a dozen golden dragon phantoms roared towards Tushin Yungxiao. Tushin Yungxiao's pupils trembled slightly when he saw a dozen golden dragons. He shouted sharply, and 3 more tails grew out of his back. 9 tails already appeared. 8. I could clearly feel that Tushin Yungxiao's strength was rising rapidly. Tushin Yungxiao's 8 tails stretched infinitely and fought with the phantoms of more than a dozen golden dragons.